Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today, in honor of Mother's Day, I thought I would pay tribute to all of the mothers on Walton's Mountain. For those of you out there watching, I hope you had a very wonderful Mother's Day. On January 29th, 1979, which happened to be my 21st birthday, there you go, there was a People magazine cover that featured the wonderful Walton women. And on that cover was Ellen Corby, Michael Learned, me, and my son on the show, John Curtis. It was quite a thrill for me to make the cover of People magazine. I don't think I ever got tired of being on the cover of a magazine. It didn't happen a lot. Had a lot of articles done, but they were usually inside magazines, not covers. So that was kind of special. And that they decided in January for some reason to pay tribute to the women on Walton's Mountain, and that they just chose the first 3 generations, me being the oldest of the daughters. So, in keeping with that, the first mother on Walton's Mountain that I will talk about is Ellen Corby. Of course, Ellen Corby played the matriarch of the family, Esther Walton, married to Zeb, and the mother of John. And she was also the mother of Ben, who was mentioned in the episode The Hero. It was Ben, my brother Ben in the series, talks about his Uncle Ben that he was named after, and it was John's older brother who I believe was killed in World War I. Now in The Homecoming, there was a point early in the episode where Olivia talks about John and how handsome he was, and Esther says, "All my boys are handsome," which implied that perhaps there was yet another brother. But I don't remember any specific reference ever being made to another sibling of John and Ben's. But that was Esther Walton. In real life, Ellen never had children of her own. I know some of you have commented that hearing how, because John Walmsley was an older child and didn't have grandparents, and Ellen didn't have any children, that they sort of adopted each other. She sort of adopted John, just in a spiritual sort of sense, as her grandson, and they would attend different sorts of functions together when Ellen needed an escort. The next Walton mother was Olivia Walton, and she, of course, was the mother of 7 children and a twin of Jim Bob's who died at birth, and then a child that she miscarried in another episode, The Cradle. So the living children that she had were in age order: John Boy, then Jason, Mary Ellen, originally Ben, and then Aaron. But then at some point in one of the earlier seasons, for some reason, the producers decided to flip the ages of Aaron and Ben and make Aaron older than Ben. So if you think that happened and you think you're crazy, you're not. It really did happen. Eric said that the producers came to him and asked him if he would mind if that happened. And he figured if he kept playing younger, then, he would be around the house more, and that was fine by him. So John Boy, Jason, Mary Ellen, Aaron, Ben, and then Jim Bob and Elizabeth. So those were the 7 children of Olivia Walton. And of course, she was just the most amazing mother. And I think everybody wanted to have a mother like Olivia Walton. And I think every mother, myself included, wanted to be a mother like Olivia was, who was strong and compassionate and had a huge heart. She was fair. The relationship between her and John was, what fairy tales are made of, a wonderful relationship full of trust and love and humor. Of course, she didn't always approve of all of John's habits, that he didn't attend church regularly, and she didn't approve of the recipe, and when the men would imbibe of the recipe. So she had very strong beliefs that she stood by. She was very consistent in those. But then there was the moments like when she entered her cake in the carnival and the festival and wanted to win and put a dash of the recipe in that because that was the secret ingredient. So she had her moments where the line was not so hard drawn in the sand. But I thought Michael was just the most amazing choice to play Olivia. Of course, Patricia Neal had played Olivia in The Homecoming, and she was just a very different Olivia, and I think she was perfect for The Homecoming. But I think Michael was very perfect for the series The Waltons. While we didn't see a lot of really light-hearted moments for Ellen Corby as Grandma, she did have some moments, and I loved when on the rare occasion we got to hear her giggle, because Ellen had the sweetest giggle. But there were some lighter moments for Esther, and there certainly were for Olivia. I loved in The Bicycle when she has a beautiful carefree moment riding along on the bicycle and singing, that she got to go and study art at the school, that she had a little rebellion and permed her hair, which didn't turn out well. So there were a number of aspects to Olivia Walton. So she was more than just the mother of 7 children. She was also a woman with her own personality, her own dreams, and her own interests outside of just being a mother raising the children, which she did fabulously. In real life, Michael is the mother of 3 boys that she was raising during the time that she was filming The Waltons. So I'm sure that her 3 boys are all very, very proud of the mother that she is in real life and the mother that they got to watch on The Waltons. The next of the Walton mothers was Mary Ellen. Of course, Mary Ellen married Kurt, and then in season 6 had John Curtis. A number of different infants played John Curtis, and then, as I spoke about recently, Michael and Marshall Reed took over as the twins, who for the rest of the series played baby John Curtis. Mary Ellen, as a mother, went through a lot of things. She lost Kurt, of course, very early. Then she decided she was going to go back to school. And she was very lucky to have an incredibly supportive family that helped care for John Curtis so that she was able to pursue her own dreams. And in that way, she felt being not just a better person, but also a better mother and a better example for John Curtis of doing things that you feel are really important for yourself and for others. There were wonderful moments between Mary Ellen and John Curtis. I loved the moment at Grandpa's graveside when I speak about John Curtis and how he holds out his hands to all sorts of people, and the infant actually did hold his hands out. That was not planned. I did not say that because he did that. That was in the script. And it was just one of those beautiful, spontaneous moments that we were able to capture that looked like what it was, just a wonderful, spontaneous moment. And then, there were the aspects of motherhood that we got to see where she's scared. She's scared of losing John Curtis. She gets very protective of him. She doesn't want to leave him alone. So we got to see a lot of elements between Mary Ellen and John Curtis as she worked her way through being a mom and then being a single mom. And then, of course, later on, she married Jonesy. And then the great question that I have no answer to is, in the final reunion movies, what happened to John Curtis? It was not explained to us. And I think they wanted young children, but they didn't necessarily want to blow the budget by having too many actors that spoke. So it was just it was a big mix-up. And I think I did hear the producers, some of the people connected with those reunions said, the audience won't remember. They won't know the difference. And of course, we knew that wasn't true, and that wasn't true. So all of a sudden, Mary Ellen, who supposedly couldn't have any more children, now has 2 more children, Clay and Katie. So was that modern medical advancement that allowed that to happen? Were they adopted? Nothing was actually said. And John Curtis, I'd like to think he was away at college, and that's why he didn't make it back for those reunion specials. In real life, I have a stepson, a stepdaughter, and a son of my own, and I'm very happy to have all of them in my life. It is one of the greatest pleasures of my life to be a mother in real life. The next mom we saw on the Waltons was Cindy Walton, the wife of Ben. And then shortly after they were married, she had initially a daughter, Ginny. And then later on, just towards the end of the series, we found out she was pregnant and she had a little boy, Charlie. Again, there was a case of these children not being fully explained in some of the reunions. All of a sudden, I believe it was Virginia that had died, and there was no mention of Charlie at all. So clearly, children just had a way of just magically disappearing. But there you go. I thought Leslie did a wonderful job of playing a mother. Cindy adored her children. Ben adored his children, and I thought Cindy made a wonderful addition as a Walton mom. In real life, Leslie has two beautiful daughters of her own. When it came to the final reunion movies, Erin was also a mom. We didn't actually get introduced to any of her children except in the final sort of reunion movies where she had several. I don't remember how many. I don't remember their names. I'd have to rewatch those specials, but Erin had been married to Paul Northridge. They evidently had divorced, but she did have the children. In real life, Mary has two stepdaughters and a daughter of her own. Also in the Walton reunions, Tony, who was married to Jason, had a number of children. They were all named after country music artists. And then she was pregnant during, I believe it was a Walton wedding, and actually went into labor supposedly during John Boy's wedding. And you see her leave with Olivia, and then you see Mary Ellen kind of sneak out too. And there you go. She the baby wasn't going to wait. And then there was a number of these children who were there in those various different Walton reunions. In real life, Lisa Harrison was married to John Walmsley, and they have a daughter. Of course, there were a number of other moms represented on the Waltons. Corbeth Godsey and Ike adopted Amy, and there were other different people that we saw. Verdi and Harley. Foster had Jody, and she had a daughter from a previous marriage. And then they also, I believe, adopted a boy. And so there was a lot of other representations of moms on the series. So I hope that you enjoyed all of those moms and watching our stories and getting to know our on-screen children.